Hi, everyone. Love is in the air on Women's Wednesday. I'm Susan Tran, and we are talking about relationships and all the questions that I have received as we look ahead to Valentine's Day. And joining us is couples therapist Jocelyn Stephenson. Thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be back.
Okay, we have questions, my friends. It was amazing when I put that question out there, how many different questions that I had that people were curious about.
Yeah.
And the first one I have to ask is, what is the secret to a healthy relationship?
Okay. So I'm probably going to say the most stereotypical therapist response, which is just respect. Respect is a huge part of a healthy relationship. When you have two people that care about and respect one another, all of these sort of positive and good behaviors kind of fall underneath that. So things like communication, making sure that we're accepting each other for who they are, all that kind of stuff just kind of trickles down from respect for your partner and feeling respected by your partner.
So fundamentally, respect is tip top.
Absolutely.
That sounds really simple.
I mean, in theory, right? And yet, you know, it's one of those things that I think a lot of couples sometimes struggle with, because it's not so much about just respecting your partner, but it's about making sure that they feel respected. And there are lots of times when, like, maybe we may communicate in ways that aren't exactly respectful. You know, we might make a snide comment, or maybe we're having a bad day and things like that. And, you know, the thing about relationships is that you see both the best parts of your partner and also the worst parts of your partner. And so making sure that you maintain that respect for one another and making sure that your partner feels respected it sounds simpler than it is.
Yeah, I always told my husband that what I love about him the most is also what drives me bonkers.
Absolutely.
And I never really thought of it, but I think that is probably true for most people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You know, we are drawn to certain things, usually sometimes things that we want for ourselves or don't see in ourselves, you know, qualities that we admire. And also those things tend to then at the other end of the spectrum become the sort of thing that it's like, oh, I wish you wouldn't do this way.
All right, so if you're in a relationship, it's Valentine's Day. How do you know if this is the right person or it's time to cut bait?
Oh, okay. So I usually narrow it down to two things. One, how does the person make you feel? Specifically, how do you feel when you're with them?
Okay.
Again, when we're going back to that, this concept of respect, right? How do you feel like your partner loves and cares for you, respects you, maybe even admires you? So first off, how do you feel with them? And second, are they willing to work through hard stuff? One of the, I think, most difficult things for any new couple starting out is when you get hit with that first big issue, whether it's wedding planning or whether it's something like a big disagreement. How you work through those things becomes really important, because what you want is a partner who will work with you even when things are difficult, right? It's easy to be in a relationship when, you know, you're still in the honeymoon phase,
right?
And, oh, I just love everything about my partner, and they just literally feel like they hung the moon. But it's something different when it's like, okay, we're getting down to brass tacks, and how do we figure out whether or not we want kids or where we're going to live, or how do we navigate in-law relationships or all that sort of thing.
And is there a timeline? You guys have been dating for 8 years. What are we doing here?
As far as how to know?
Is that time to cut bait? Are there questions to kind of start figuring out, or?
Sure. Here, actually, I took some notes. So, key questions. One of the things that I think is really important is figuring out what your mundane life looks like. Again, it's really easy to be sort of in love when you're doing things like you're going on vacation, or you're imagining these big events in your life, right? Like, I can imagine Christmas holidays with this person. But really, I think one of the things that's really important is matching what your everyday looks like. So that's really important, because if you come home at the end of the day and your partner's like, I want to do, I don't know, intramural ice hockey, right? And you're kind of like, I was imagining a nice quiet, night at home with the family and eating dinner and that kind of thing. Those sort of things can lead to fraying of your relationship. So knowing that you have sort of a matchup of your day-to-day dreams. And then again, the other thing is really just, how does this person handle it when you're not getting along? If it's been 8 years, that's fine. There's this concept, Sue, called the sunk cost fallacy, which is this idea that the longer you're in a relationship, or the longer you've put time or effort into something, the harder it is to get out of it, right? We tell ourselves that, oh, well, I've spent so much time with this person, or, we've been through so much. And the reality is that time doesn't necessarily have to dictate whether or not a relationship should continue or not. It's really about, again, how do you feel with this person? Do you feel respected by this person? Do you feel loved by this person? And if the answers to those questions are yes, then your relationship's great.
And time isn't the factor that is so critical, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay. We have like 20 seconds really quickly. Should couples go to therapy before getting married?
Oh my gosh. You're asking a therapist. So
realistically,
the answer to the question is yes.
Okay.
I find that a lot of the couples that I see premarital either are doing some work to answer a specific question, or they're just coming in to cover the bases. And, there's a lot of wealth of knowledge that can be benefited and gained from seeing somebody who can talk about relationships with you.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Women's Wednesday. I'm Susan Tran, and we are talking about Cupid's conundrums and relationship questions with Jocelyn Stephenson, our couples therapist. And thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, glad to talk about it with you.
Okay, we have so many questions that people wanted to ask, and one of them was dating. Okay, so how are you able to be subtly flirty and tell someone they're interested without making it feel like I'm a weirdo?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that people are really attracted to, especially in new relationships, is a sense of ease, right? If you can convey that you are comfortable with the person, that's going to up your chances by far. The other thing is, when you're flirting with somebody, I think one of the things when we talk about people being weird or sort of overbearing, what they're worried about is it coming off as being either like too sexual or kind of predatory in like a weird way, right? One of the ways that you can avoid that is by showing interest in things outside of the person's sort of physical appearance and body, right? So if you know something about the person, like a personal interest that they have, or even if it's just something that you're seeing in the moment, like, oh, they've got a fun hat on, like asking them questions about their interests or something that's not just physical can go a long way in helping people feel like you're not being creepy, I guess.
That's good. Okay. All right. So engaged, but genuinely wanting to know about that person.
Yeah.
Okay. And not physical.
And not just the physical part.
Gotcha. Okay. How important is it to prioritize relationship with your partner when all the kids arrive?
Oh my gosh. Great question. Super important. I mean, the simplest answer is super important. Your relationship, at least as in the way that marriage and family therapists think about it, your relationship is part of a greater whole, a greater system of your family, right? And so when you have kids involved, yes, it's important to spend time and energy with them. And at the same time, your relationship as a couple, as the parents, become the thing that is the basis for your kids. So what you want is for that relationship to be a strong foundation, because if your parents aren't happy and healthy and sort of living their best lives, it's going to be really hard to help kids do that too, right? If your parent relationship is not strong, it's really hard to establish safety and balance for your kids.
And how do you do that though? Like, how do you prioritize? How do you make it important, especially like on Valentine's Day? Like, what are some like cute key tips?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to say, date night as always. I'm a big fan of check-ins though. And so what happens with the check-in is that can be any number of opportunities just for conversation. I like to ask my partner things like, what's going well in our relationship right now? Mm-hmm. And what would you need more of? What have you missed recently? And I think that's especially true. So I just had a baby last year. Mm-hmm. So my husband and I have been adjusting to being new parents ourselves. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is like, okay, what have I lost as, in the last 10 months with this baby around, right? What would I like to reincorporate into my life? And that, I think, is a good question to ask in the context of your relationship as well. Mm. Like, yes, kids take a toll on us, and they steal some of the resources, right, of time, energy, that sort of thing, away from your relationship. What does it look like to be aware of that and try to build that back in? Whether that's date nights, whether that's just quality time together, whether that's investing in a hobby that you can do together, that kind of thing.
Wonderful. All right. Yeah. So very important. What do you do about divvying up chores, household duties when you have the kids, you're working, and it kind of falls in line with like managing expectations from in-laws and everything, because you're trying to manage all of these feelings, duties, and people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so there are a couple things at play, right? Is a lot of times when you're trying to figure out what's wrong with that, like what's going on and how to balance the household, you're doing that in real time. So it's not like, oh, let's plan this ahead, right? A lot of times we realize something is missing or something is imbalanced, and we've got to figure out a way to change that. Mm-hmm. So first, you have to talk to your partner about it, right? Your partner has to be aware of the fact that there's this imbalance, and then from there, you can work on changing it. One thing that's become really popular is this card game called Fair Play. Are you familiar with it?
No.
Yeah, so it's a card game where essentially it's a bunch of flashcards with different household things, duties, skills, requirements, all that kind of stuff. And essentially what you do is you split these things up. Like who holds this most, right? Car repairs, or doing the dishes, or scheduling the kids, like swim meets or whatever it happens to be. And essentially what you do is you split those cards up and you kind of say, okay, now that we can look at each other and see who's holding how many cards, how do we very consciously split them in a way that makes sense for our family? So maybe if my partner's not holding that many cards, but there's something that I can give up to him, then I might do that, right? Like maybe you should do the dishes a few times a week, or maybe you handle pickup from school, or that kind of thing.
Okay. And for our last 30 seconds here, how do you tell your in-laws and manage time, holiday expectations?
Yeah, absolutely. Best way to do that, I find, is to make a plan between you first. It's one of those sort of presenting a united front, right? So you and your partner need to figure out what your expectations are going to be, and then you communicate those to the people around you. So, hey, if we've got to, give my in-laws bad news, like, hey, we're not going to be able to come to such and such event or something like that, I usually make sure that I've talked that through with my husband first, and then I have him deliver that news.
Right.
Because he's talking to his parents.
Family, right. And you
vice
don't want
versa.
to be that one. All right. Exactly. You're watching Women's Wednesday. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women's Wednesday. I'm Susan Tran here with our couples therapist, Jocelyn Stephenson. Thank you so much for being here. We have so many questions, so we have to jump back in. And is it okay to love your kids as much as your husband, or should you love your husband first or more?
Well, I think it depends on how you're defining love. If you're talking about love, the verb, as in things you're doing to support them and make sure that they feel loved, then I would argue no. I think you should absolutely be doing as much for each person that you love as you can. But the feeling that you have, the sort of affection that you have, that's special for kids. I mean, again, as somebody who just had a kid, the love and affection that I feel for my daughter is, in fact, super powerful and different than the love and affection that I feel for her father. And I think that it's fine that those things are different.
Okay, perfect. The importance of marrying your best friend versus a partner. Should there be two people, or is it cool just to have that one person?
Yeah, if you can find somebody who's both your best friend and a great partner, wonderful. More power to you. I don't think that should be the standard that everybody holds for everyone. I think, yes, that there are times when it's better to have a best friend and have that person be different than your partner. Like I said, I think it's great if you can find it, but I think it's easier to look for a best friend and then work with them to be a better partner, or vice versa, to find a good partner and then work with them to have them be more like your best friend.
Because I jokingly said I never married my best friend. I have a best friend, I have a husband, and they're two different people.
Same.
Yeah.
Same, different people.
Because it felt like too much to have just one person. Who am I going to complain to about my husband?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a lot to carry to be somebody's everything. So I don't think it's a reasonable thing to expect any one person to carry all of that. And if you find somebody that you just absolutely love and adore and you don't need anything else, great.
All the power to you.
Exactly.
Yes. All right. Sleep divorce.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
I think it's important, though, again, to be able to communicate what the expectations are around that, right? Some people really find that sleeping in separate beds is super helpful. You know, they feel better. They are, in fact, more patient. They get better sleep as a result of it. And with that extra space, then they have time to plan other ways to be affectionate to each other, right? Whether that's having sex at like planned times, or doing that before you go to bed, or whether that's being affectionate in ways like cuddling on the couch, things like that. You know, I think what happens is we conflate all of the affection that comes and happens in bed with sleep. And I think that they are separate things, and it is absolutely okay for you to sleep separately because you get your needs met.
Right. All of it, and then you get a good night's sleep, which is so helpful.
Which is so helpful.
Okay, how do you ease into dating or relationships following a divorce?
Yeah. First thing, get support, right? Have family or friends or people around you that want to help you succeed in that. That means making sure that it's normalized, right? So talk to a girlfriend. Hey, have them check your if you're building a profile online on one of the apps, have them go over it, right? Really get a little bit of support and buy-in, because even though even though you're going out to find people to look for relationship or friendship, it can be really isolating at times. So having people that you can talk to about it as you're going through that process, super important. The other thing, figuring out what your goals are. I think I've talked to so many people who get divorced, and they say, Jocelyn, when is a good time for me to go back into the field? And I say, well, when you're ready, and not a day before. And if you're not feeling ready, if you're not interested at all, don't push it. It's fine.
You're on no one's timeline. Oh, that's great. Okay. It's Valentine's Day. You get a gift. You don't really like it. Maybe you're new in the relationship. Are you honest, or is that a bad idea?
I'm always going to advocate for honesty. And there's a good way to do that that involves being soft around it, right? So you might say something like, oh, I so appreciate the thought. And I honestly might not use this gift the way you want me to. In the future, if you want to get me something that I would find really useful, this is the kind of stuff that I like.
And what if the person's put off?
Well, if they're put off, that's okay too. That's good information. I mean, ultimately what you want, especially if it's a first gift, right? You're still getting to know each other. Consider that when you are talking to the person, right? Like, it's okay that you got this wrong. It's okay. We're still getting to know each other, right? I'm telling you in the future because I'm expecting there to be a future gift.
Ooh, okay. I'm expecting there to be a future is great.
Yes, exactly.
It's positive.
Exactly.
Okay. What about if you're trying to have you have a friend, they're in a relationship and you're not like jazzed about that person, do you tell the person or not?
I think if they ask.
And not if they don't.
And not if they don't. Unless you're getting big red flags, this person, I don't know, may have some sort of very dangerous criminal background or something like that. Okay, sure. Then let your friend know. But if it's, he's not my cup of tea, you don't have to tell your friend that unless they ask. Like, what do you think of him? Okay.
Unless they ask. All right.
Yep.
And so bottom line, as we set out for Valentine's Day, what do you hope people get out of this?
Oh my gosh. I hope people realize that love comes in a bunch of different ways, and that there's more than one way to feel affection and cared for, and that while romantic partners are important, they are not the only way to do that.
Yeah, and couples could be your best girlfriend, your sibling, not just your partner. That's
Absolutely.
So wonderful. All right, Jocelyn Stephenson, thank you so much for being here on Women's Wednesday.
Thanks for having me, Susan.